Welcome to the Mighty Dragon. Today's guest is an actress in the new series of Frasier. RENEE PEZZOTTA plays Smokey, one of Freddie's firefighter buddies and co-workers. Freddie is Frasier's son, remember? We are learning a lot more about Smokey's character now as the first season has aired, and I was absolutely delighted that RENEE joined me for this interview on the Mighty Dragon to discuss Smokey and a whole lot more. Welcome to the Mighty Dragon. Hello, RENEE.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I've just completed the last series of, well, the first series of the last series of Frasier, I guess I'm trying to say. And it was just fantastic. And I'm
Oh,
so
good.
delighted that you're on the Mighty Dragon podcast. So we
Oh,
can
thank
talk
you
a
for
bit
having
more.
me. Yeah.
Oh, great. We could talk a bit more about Smokey, your character. But first of all, what drew you to acting as a career?
Well, it's funny. It's something I've always been drawn to since I was very little. I can
Yes.
remember back in the this is how old I am. Back in the day when you'd go to a library and rent records, and I would
Yeah.
listen to musicals. And I was in a part of the United States that was very didn't have a lot of culture. The South didn't have a lot of culture.
Okay.
Didn't have a lot of things for me to be drawn to for that. So that was my escape. And I can remember even being 4 years old, standing with a hairbrush on the hearth of my fireplace, lip syncing to the Sonny and Cher show, doing my best Cher impersonations. And it made my mom laugh, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
I realized that, oh, making people laugh is kind of a cool thing, and specifically I was drawn to entertaining people and making them laugh. And that
Yes.
just ended up as soon as I was old enough to get out of Tennessee. I went up to New York and started studying and started doing stand-up comedy and just have never looked back.
So doing stand-up comedy, you pretty much got over your fears of facing an audience because that must be the harshest critics ever, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. What I love about stand-up is it's all you, and it's your responsibility, and there's an immediate gratification. It's one of the things I love about doing a show like Frasier too, because we're doing it in front of a live studio audience. And when you're doing that in front of a live studio audience, you can hear, wow, that joke did not work. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, okay,
Oh,
we need to look at
yeah.
that. And I mean, the writers will come on set and we'll be like, okay, let's talk about this. What if we
Oh,
try this? And we'll fix it right on the
right.
spot. I mean, these people are
Yes.
pros and they've been doing it forever. This is my first multicam sitcom like this, but I'm in love with the format because it's just
Right.
those best combinations of. I'm also a big theater nerd, so I love live theater. I love the idea of a live audience. So being able to have that combination of best of both worlds in a sitcom multicam situation is really great. I love it so much.
Do you think that pressure brings out a better performance with a live audience there?
It definitely keeps you on your toes. That's for sure.
Yes.
I mean, it again, it ends up being a little more like a play. Although with a show like this, you do stop and start, and there are camera angles and different types of things to do. But in the moment, you want to be true to what you're doing and pull that character through. Also for the audience, we're not playing out to the audience, but you're aware that they're there. And you want
Yes.
them to enjoy the performance as well.
Yes. I just wanted to touch upon Smokey, her character. What do you
Sure.
like about her?
I love that she's a strong woman, both physically and emotionally. I think we got to
Yes.
touch on her heart a little bit in episode 4 when they were at the firehouse, and
Yeah.
the way that the firefighters took David under their wing to, when they thought he was an orphan.
Yes.
I thought that was very enjoyable, and you got to see a little bit of their heart and get to peek into their life a little bit. That was really cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like Smokey. I hope. Listen, I have a grand fantasy that Smokey is the long lost daughter, Annie Tortelli, of Carla Tortelli from Cheers. That's my
Oh,
fantasy.
oh my God, that would be amazing.
I'm sure the writers don't share that fantasy, but that's my fantasy. That's my little
Yes.
secret that I have back there that I always wish will come to fruition. But
Yeah.
it's a weird thing when you're playing a character that is just out of thin air, right? Not a character that's based on anybody, or for me, when I start to work on a character, I start with the voice. And because of the location of where they are in Boston, I really wanted her to be a Bostonian, but
Right.
not quite as much as Moose. Moose
Right.
is
Yeah.
yeah, Moose is played by Jimmy Dunn, a comedian who is actually from Boston. So
Right.
he's like a true Bostonian. I wanted Smokey to have that Boston flair, especially because when you first meet her, in the episode 2, moving in, when you first meet her and she's talking, she's a great joke where she's like, wait, you told
Yeah.
me your dad was a pipe fitter from Dorchester, not a
Yeah.
plumber from Mattapan. And so those words were very Boston words. So I was
Right.
like, she has to have a little bit of that, or that joke won't work, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. I think she's, hopefully, if there's a season 2 and they ask me back and there's another Smokey rides again, so to speak. I hope that we will dive a little more into the firefighters' lives. I'm glad to see that Moose and Olivia are
Yes.
hooking up, so to speak. I mean, who knows? Who knows what they're
Oh
going to do with
gosh.
that?
I
But
think,
that's a good
yeah,
sign that the firefighters will stick around.
I think it's such clever writing. It's very intellectual humor, and I think that has translated worldwide really well. It always
Absolutely.
has. Frasier and Cheers, always to me a little bit different from other types of sitcom, sort of series.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very smart. The writers are great. They really know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share any funny or behind the scenes moments from Frasier?
Well, every day there's something. I mean, Nicholas Lyndhurst, I know you guys,
Oh God, yeah,
he is just hilarious. Just there's just no one better. But that said, I would say for me, the one thing that stands out was a moment I had in the B story. That episode is that episode 8, I think, maybe. I can't remember the numbers, but the one
right.
called the story where Freddie is intoxicated and he
Oh
sounds
yeah, yeah,
really smart, right? There's a moment in that where Kelsey had to deliver this speech to it's a short speech, but it had all these complicated words, and Freddie's pontificating, and then he's all
yeah,
like, when you get drunk, you hide your obfuscating wit and whatever it is, and he's all these really big giant Frasier words, and he
yeah.
was tripping on it a couple of times, and my response to the end of that paragraph is always, Jesus, you must be wasted, to say that, oh well, because you're so smart, you must have drank a whole lot if you're so, but in the middle of one of the times that he messed up, I just went ahead and threw the line out, and this was on a taping night, so the audience was there, and I was like, Jesus, you must be wasted, and everybody lost it, and it was funny because everybody laughed, but then Jimmy, who plays Moose, leans over and goes, "It's been nice working with you, Renee," and I was like, "Oh no, wait!" But Kelsey loved it,
Yeah.
and he has such a great sense of humor, and I
Oh,
only did it to kind of reset the moment for everybody so that everybody
yeah,
could have a breather. So that was one that stands out. But
yeah.
this group of people they're just all so talented, and
Yes.
I'm so lucky to be in their presence every day, and the episode where BB Newirth came back. I
Oh,
mean,
amazing.
I don't have any.
Amazing.
Yes, right. I don't have anything funny to share from that, although she was a hoot, and I loved. What I loved was the downtime that she was there, because I spent all week in her company, and she's
Right.
I consider myself a Jersey girl. As soon as I got out of Tennessee, New Jersey is where I went
Yeah.
to. She's a Jersey girl, and so
Oh,
I just felt like I was talking to my aunt the whole time, and I
yes.
loved spending time with her. So that will always be a special moment that I have from
Oh,
this series. Smokey didn't do much in that episode, but just to be in the presence of the great
yes.
Sternen, it was great.
It was amazing how they had the same chemistry after all that time. And it was such a good episode.
Great.
Talking about your acting career, maybe talking about Smokey, but maybe other characters, how do you prepare for them and immerse yourself in that role?
Well, like I said, I usually start with the voice. The voice is always my first place. And once I find the voice of the character, then I find everything else falls into place. I know that's a weird thing. I actually had an acting teacher once who said that she started with her shoes. And I was like,
Ah,
wow, okay. Like, I guess that means the walk of the character. But
yeah.
for me, it's always the voice. And again, with Smokey, she was from Boston. I did a character on the Orville. I don't know if you guys get the Orville over there. It's Seth MacFarlane's
Oh,
space.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's a really funny, it's kind of a funny Star Trek
yeah,
takeoff. And like with that character, she was very fast talking, and so like I let the character come into my body through my voice. And like I don't think I sound like Smokey as Renee.
right.
But then
No, not at all. Yeah,
when I jump into Smokey, she's got that Boston accent, and she's a little tougher. I try
yeah,
not, I try to think of their intellect, what their histories are. I love playing real characters, because then my work is a little easier to be able to take a look at what they've done and what their backstory
right.
is and what their history is. Obviously, with something like Smokey, again, you have to make stuff up, and my fantasy is that she's Annie Tortelli,
Yeah,
but that might be all, I'll have to
yeah,
change the story in my mind really quick if
yeah.
it comes back for some reason.
Yes, yes. Great.
Yeah.
What challenges have you faced in your career and how have you overcome them?
Challenges. I think I think acting or performing of any kind, yeah, is a challenge in itself. I mean, if anybody tells you it's easy, they're either very, very lucky, or they are, exaggerating. They do. It is, it's a challenge. Here we just came off this 118-day strike.
Yes,
One of the things was living wages. It's very,
right,
I'm not even going to say very hard. It's almost impossible right now, with all the different streamers and everything that's going on, to actually make a living as an actor. I luckily am someone who has other skills, so I'm able
right,
to supplement my acting income through a technology career. So my technology career, side by side, I've spent a lot of time building that to a point where I can be completely flexible in it. You know what I mean? It's
right. Yes,
kind of a gig job like my acting. If I need to take off,
yes,
I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to be gone for 5 weeks doing Frasier. So,
yeah,
and I can do that. But what that's afforded me in life is the ability to live in Los Angeles and own a house, and you know what I
right.
mean. And
Yes,
I always say I don't believe in the starving actor. It's never been a thing I felt. There are some people who say if I had had something to fall back on, I would have fallen back. But for me, I have this other thing that helps me pay my bills. But this is my passion. This is my
right,
what I all, and one day maybe it will become the thing that pays my bills completely and I don't need anything else, please. The biggest thing is being able to stay in love with it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Challenges are, financial and rejection and things like that, but those are things coming into it. That acting is 90% rejection, and
right,
on those times where you're the choice, it's phenomenal. It's great.
right.
but but
Yes.
but for me, now I would say as I start to get older, memorizing lines is becoming a challenge. It's not as easy
I
as it
feel
was in
you
my
on that.
20s.
Are there any like dream roles or projects that you aspire to be part of in the future?
Well, this is kind of metaphysical or whatever, but I had said last year that I wanted to be that kind of character on a sitcom that just walks in, says something funny, and leaves. So
Yeah.
I think I kind of manifested Frasier into my life, because that's kind of what Smokey's
Amazing.
doing right now, right?
Yeah, totally.
Um, I had modeled it on, I don't know if you guys know, there's a show called Two and a Half Men here in the
Yes.
States. And there's a great character actress, Conchita Ferrell, who played Berta, the housekeeper, right?
Right.
And she would just like come in, say something snarky, and leave. And I was like, that's the kind of role I want to roll on a sitcom like that. And then Frasier fell into my life. And I was like,
Yes.
wow, I kind of manifested that. But I mean,
Right.
your question being, are there any dream roles or projects? I have been very lucky. I've gotten to work now with Nicole Kidman, with Viola Davis, with
Wow.
Michael Sheen, all these
Wow.
amazing actors, and in smaller parts, but still always with
Yeah.
that main person, and
Yeah.
learn so much from all of them. So I'm grateful for any role I get. You know what I mean? I'm not,
Yes.
they're now that Hollywood opened back up, so to speak, after the strike,
Yes.
been a lot of auditions coming in, and some of them are super small. And sometimes my people are like, you're a recurring guest star on a pretty popular show right now. Do you want to do this? I'm like, of course I want to do this. I'm not, there are people who would, give their left arm to be a 4-line part in a series that I love. I'm just happy to work. So that's all I aspire to.
Okay, that's an absolutely honest answer. I'm totally with you on that. How do you balance staying true to a character versus bringing in your own unique interpretation to the role?
Well, so Smokey, I feel like, is my interpretation of what the writers give me to play with, right?
Okay.
Because she is an established or based on a real person, my interpretation of her is kind of all there is right now. And what I'm trying to do is be true to the writer's intentions.
Right. Okay.
I mean, using what I said about being a Tortelli as an example, right? That would require me to think about the known circumstances around who Carla Tortelli's daughter is. Like, what does it mean to have been raised by Carla Tortelli as a mom?
Yes.
Right? That kind of stuff. But again, with Smokey in her current existence, my interpretation of what the writers give me to play with is really what it is.
Right. What advice would you give to aspiring actors entering the industry now?
Honestly, stick with it. I mean, if it feeds your soul and it brings you joy, that's what I always say. Just stick with it. Your time will come. There are so many roles and so many opportunities, and you just have to stick with it long enough for them to eventually align, And I would also say have a full life. Like I said, I'm not a big believer in the struggling artist. I think you have to have another life. You have to do other things. You can't let it consume you. I know so many people, I of course am in acting classes and do that stuff with I see tons of actors all the time, some young, some older than me, some who are so talented but give up because it just beats them down. This, like I said before, this business is rejection, and you have to be healthy enough to know that it's not personal, and it just wasn't your time. You know what I mean? That particular role, it just wasn't your role. But your role will come. It will come.
Thank you. As a busy actor, how do you maintain a good work-life balance?
I don't always.
Do you?
No. I really do try. Again, like I said, I don't. The biggest struggle for me is because I can't live on my acting money alone. I've got this style of life that I enjoy, and because acting doesn't support it completely yet, I have to juggle those two lives, and that's very hard. Again, because I'm in a position where I can say, hey, I'm going to do this podcast for an hour. I'll be offline for an hour or so. You know what I mean? That's the way I juggle my life. And it's just, my calendar is so important. I have everything in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. I'm very organized that way because I have to be.
Yes, absolutely. Your final question, you will be pleased to hear. What are your plans for 2024?
Well, hopefully there's a season 2 of Frasier, and hopefully they ask Smokey back.
Yes.
But that said, I've fallen back in love with stand-up, and I've been doing a little bit of that lately again. So I probably will book myself some more, maybe do a short special or something next year. I also have some scripts that I've written that have done pretty well in some festivals. Maybe I'll make one of those this coming year. But I'll definitely stay busy. Hopefully get some other roles on some other things, and just keep trucking along, doing what I love.
So you're a writer as well. I didn't realize that. Oh, what genre do you write? Is it comedy or?
A lot. Well, honestly, this is the funny thing. My husband is a director, and he does horror. I like to write horror comedy. So I like to twist those two genres together. So that's what a lot of we have a great pilot that we wrote called Geisting, which is about poltergeist from the poltergeist point of view. So it's a little remnant of we had written it before I discovered the UK version of Ghost, which I like a little better than the US version. But anyway, I'm happy. I'm happy for both of them now. I've
Yeah,
grown the US one, but I really love the UK
yeah.
version of
Oh,
Ghost. But yeah, we had written it before that, and it's nothing like that, but you get the idea of like the ghosts from the ghost perspective. This is poltergeists who are a little
oh,
meaner and trickier from
yeah.
their point of view, and you go to like their realm. So there's like some cool fantasy and stuff going on, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy that part. I enjoy writing and producing as well as
Oh,
acting.
that's
Yeah.
great. All the best with that. That sounds terrific.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank
I
you.
really hope to see you back on Frasier. I really love that little group in the bar. I think they're so cool.
Good. I'm
Thank you
glad you
so
like them.
much, Renee, and all the best for Christmas and for 2024.
You too, Victoria. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye.